5 predictions for the Buffalo Bills in the first round of the 2023 NFL Draft. Welcome to my channel, Bills News Consolidated. We got to discuss all the plausible options here, potential trade up and potential trade down, specific players that the Bills are interested in, as well as a couple trade targets of already NFL players that Brandon Beane might consider depending on who's available on the draft board. So my first prediction here that I want to discuss that I've been hammering home here, it's my top pick for the Buffalo Bills, which is Jack Campbell, linebacker. But there's some points, and this is really the second prediction that I think there's some players here that I think Brandon Beane might consider that we would draft ahead of Jack Campbell if they're available. My prediction, though, is that they're not going to be available. Number 1 is Bijan Robinson. I believe Bijan Robinson will undoubtedly get drafted before the Buffalo Bills' 27th overall pick, and it very well could be the Dallas Cowboys at 26 overall. We know Ezekiel Elliott is likely going to be out as a Dallas Cowboy, and Tony Pollard, right? They use a mixed backfield. So I really think Bijan Robinson, if he happens to be available for the Buffalo Bills and Jack Campbell's on the board, I think we might go Bijan Robinson. I don't believe that's going to happen, though. The other players is Jackson Smith-Njigba. I've been saying this for months, that if Jackson Smith-Njigba, if he is available when the Buffalo Bills pick, even if Jack Campbell's there, I think the Bills will go Jackson Smith-Njigba. And then third, there's only one more player. It's outside linebacker, defensive end, Nolan Smith from Georgia. He ran a 4.39 40. He's a top talent in this year's NFL draft. For whatever reason, if he slips to the Buffalo Bills and Jack Campbell's on the board, I think the Bills might very well select Nolan Smith. So Bijan Robinson, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Nolan Smith are the only 3 players that would trump Jack Campbell in this year's NFL draft. My personal belief is that they're all going to be gone before that draft selection. So Jack Campbell is going to be the choice for the Bills. Now, the problem here is that there are a few other teams that are interested in linebacker in this year's NFL draft. You have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you have the Dallas Cowboys, as well as the Pittsburgh Steelers. Even Arthur Moats, an ex-Buffalo Bill player who covers the Pittsburgh Steelers, specifically stated that they might even be looking for a linebacker, even with signing 2 linebackers this offseason. Are they going to be interested in an old school style like Jack Campbell? He seems to think that Jack Campbell fits the Steelers. But do the Buffalo Bills, are they going to be willing to trade up all the way to the 16th or before the 16th pick or before the 17th pick or the 19th pick with Tampa Bay? And then are we going to be able to trade ahead of the Dallas Cowboys, who might also be interested in Jack Campbell? So potential trade-up scenarios would be the Bills trading up for a guy like Jack Campbell. Now, if Jack Campbell gets selected before the Buffalo Bills' 27th overall pick, we have some insurance pieces there. Tampa Bay Buccaneers say if they draft Jack Campbell, well, Devin White should become a better value for the Buffalo Bills. Maybe the Bills opt to give up our first-round pick, and that's what was stated, that it would take a first-round pick to get linebacker Devin White to the Buffalo Bills. Just like they said, a second-round pick for DeAndre Hopkins might get DeAndre Hopkins to the Buffalo Bills, plus Hopkins said he's willing to rework his contract. So the other option here in the first round is for Brandon Beane to trade back. Knowing Jack Campbell might not necessarily fit that 27th overall pick, in my eyes, I think he is well worth it. But if Brandon Beane feels as though that he could trade back and still get Jack Campbell and acquire more picks, maybe 2 second-round picks, and use one of those second-round picks for a DeAndre Hopkins after missing out on a Jackson Smith-Njigba, it's going to be very interesting to see how this first round unfolds and what's going to happen in the second round of this year's NFL draft. And if the Bills do trade back, the Bills could potentially just draft Jack Campbell, linebacker, and maybe get a tight end, Darnell Washington, or maybe a Zay Flowers is there, right? And last on my list there in the second round, maybe Nathaniel Tank Dell, but that might be a little bit too rich of a spot in the second round for Tank Dell. He went against Sauce Gardner in college, last year's NFL rookie MVP, and he tore him up. 152 yards receiving and a touchdown, Tank Dell versus Sauce. So he's high on my list, but I don't know if the Bills would be willing to draft him second overall. Now, let's just say that Zay Flowers, Darnell Washington, and Tank Dell are all gone by the Buffalo Bills' second-round pick. Maybe the Buffalo Bills opt to definitely trade for DeAndre Hopkins. I really believe that is an option for the Bills, as well as trading up. So maybe the Bills stay at 27, we draft Jack Campbell, and then we try to climb up early in the second round to get that other piece, like a Darnell Washington. Maybe Zay Flowers or Jordan Addison are still there in the second round, but I think it could very well be unlikely that they're still around. My perfect idea here would be to draft Jack Campbell 27th overall, just to solidify the quarterback of this defense. The first time Sean McDermott's going to be calling plays for this defense, the quarterback of our defense. We know how important that is. Finding Josh Allen and Tremaine Edmonds in the same draft, trading up for Josh Allen in that draft, trading up for Tremaine Edmonds in that draft in the first round. And we know how important that fifth-year option is. So I really think the Bills could very well just stay put, understand the value behind the fifth-year option, understand the need behind a quarterback, middle linebacker in this Buffalo Bills defense, knowing that Jack Campbell looks like a freaking defensive back in pass coverage, a great linebacker that understands the game, worked one-on-one with Luke Kuechly, makes a ton of sense. But you have to have some backup plans in case Jack Campbell gets drafted by another team, in case another team sees what we see in Jack Campbell. And you guys have Drew Sanders, Trenton Simpson. Trenton Simpson played at Clemson alongside Balin Spector. We know Balin Spector is already competing for that middle linebacker spot here in Buffalo. So Trenton Simpson would be able to come from Clemson to the Buffalo Bills just like Balin Spector did. And Balin Spector could help him in his transition to the Bills, right? We need this middle linebacker to produce early. So I really like that. Jack Campbell, 27th overall. And then in that second round, try to get a Darnell Washington. Try to get a Tank Dell if they're still available. And if not, maybe trade that pick for DeAndre Hopkins. So is it possible the Buffalo Bills come out of this year's NFL draft with just Devin White and DeAndre Hopkins? We don't even draft a player. I mean, crazier things have happened before. And I think that's kind of the approach here. Waiting in the weeds. Sitting in the weeds, waiting in the weeds, a read and react type approach in this year's NFL draft. Kind of my final thoughts here going forward, and I am going to be live during the NFL draft. I hope you guys join me. Also, check the links in the description. You guys could save $20 off SeatGeek, any seats, concerts, Buffalo Bills tickets. Anytime you guys could use that promo code BNC. But you guys, I hope you all truly enjoyed this video. Check the spreadsheets too. I have the draft board. We're going to be going over that all live tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Go Bills. Peace.